Hey, Steve.
Hey, Alice Cooper, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. We're getting ready to leave tomorrow for Europe for 6 weeks.
I saw that. You're going to Switzerland and France and Germany and all over the place.
Everywhere, yeah. It's only about our 50th trip to Europe. We know Europe. We always, every year we do at least one European run. So I'm getting to know all those countries pretty well.
Is there a place over there that you particularly like to visit?
Well, I mean, it's so funny because most people save all their life to go to Europe, and we're sitting here going, okay, we have to go to Europe again.
Oh, life is so tough.
The audiences are great. They really are. And, every one of those countries have got great rock audiences because you do big festivals.
Sure.
And you're 50, 60,000 people there every night. So it's great.
That's awesome. And then after the European tour, you come back to the United States, and we get you here in Glens Falls coming up November 21st for the Nightmare Before Christmas show. We're excited. Right
around Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
but that'll be this tour ends in December, and then picks up again in February in Australia. So I mean, we in the end we'll end up doing probably 150 cities.
Wow. That's huge, man. And I know people have asked you about retirement, and you have no thought of retirement like a lot of other
Not
bands.
even. Well, I went and saw the Stones last night here in Phoenix, and I talked to Mick last night, and I said, I one time made a statement that when Mick retires, if he retires at 77, I've got 6 more years. Because I want to do at least as much time as Mick does. He was great last night. I mean, he did 2.5 hours. He never stopped moving. The band sounded as good as I've ever heard them sound. So the Stones were great last night, but it was good to see Mick in great shape.
Well, especially after the heart thing and the surgery and everything else, doing well.
Apparently it was like putting new batteries in him.
Exactly. Well, the same thing happened with Gary Rossington from Leonard Skinner. Same thing. He went, had the same procedure done, and from what I've heard, he's got a ton more energy now on stage.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't tell last night that there was anything wrong with Mick. He was on fire.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell you, the last time I saw you on stage, you were prancing around there and jumping around like a 20-year-old. So you're doing pretty well yourself.
Well, I've kept in great shape. I really did. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I never smoked cigarettes, and I quit drinking 37 years ago. And I used to be a cross-country runner, a long-distance runner.
Oh, wow.
So I think a lot of that all plays in together, yeah.
Sure. So and some good genes in there probably, too.
Well, yeah. I mean, my mom is 96, and she has 3 sisters that are all in their 90s.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. Speaking of family, what were you like as a kid? What was young Alice like?
I was Ferris Bueller.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah. I had my school totally wired. First of all, I was on the undefeated cross-country team. Mm-hmm. So I was a jock, a 4-year letterman, right?
Right.
And so was Dennis Dunaway, and so was John Spear, our first drummer. So 3 of the guys in the original band were 4-year lettermen. And then, on top of it, we were in the best band in town. Mm-hmm. So at my high school, the jocks, we were jocks, and at the same time we were rockers. So we didn't have any enemies.
You owned the place.
We owned the place. We had girls doing our homework. We had, it was great.
I could see you as Ferris Bueller.
The teachers were on our side. It was great.
Did you ever go back for any of your high school reunions?
They did retire my locker.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so freshmen that walk by the locker have to nod to it,
Give it a little nod. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They should have replaced it with like a mini guillotine in there or something.
Yeah, they should. When you open the door, you get your head pops out or something.
That'd be awesome. Speaking of theatrics, what's the show like? Have you changed things up a little bit? What are you doing different this year?
Yeah, brand new show. If anybody saw the show in the last 2 years, this is an entirely different show than that one. It's sort of like when you go to the carnival and there's that spooky ride that you go on that's through the House of Horrors and all that.
Right.
Well, that's what the stage looks like.
Oh, that's cool.
It's basically Alice Cooper's rock and roll, Nightmare Castle. And it would do all the hits. The band I've got is the best band I think I've ever worked with. Hurricane Nita Strauss is our female guitar player who just won Best Female Guitarist in the World.
She's amazing. She
looks like
unreal.
a Victoria's Secret model and plays like Eddie Van Halen.
It's so true.
And then our drummer won Best Drummer in Rock and Roll, Glenn Sobel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the band is amazing.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to see it November 21st in Glens Falls. That's exciting. I've seen you several times, and I know every time the show is a little bit different. And a few times you've even had family members of yours in the show, right?
Well, my wife is actually in the show. My wife plays the nurse, and my wife plays on a song called Roses on White Lace, she plays the bride that's certainly not alive. So there's parts of the show that all of a sudden just take off and become extremely theatrical, and that's one thing that we specialize in. But it never, ever, ever gets mellow.
Yeah.
The show is hard rock all the way. And if you've never seen an Alice Cooper show, this is one to see because it's got everything in it.
When did you start doing the radio night show, Alice?
I'm in my 15th year now.
Wow, congratulations.
And Dick Clark came to me and he said, if you had a radio show, a late night radio show, what would it be? And I said, haphazard. He said, what do you mean? I said, I would let it be as real as possible.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, not scripted.
Sure.
Let me do the playlist. You can give me a playlist, but give me the leeway to change it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking about something and all of a sudden a song comes into my mind, I don't have to play that next song that's coming up. I can switch it out.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, sounds good. And that it sounds like I'm talking to you when I'm doing the show because I'm not a disc jockey.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just basically talking to who's ever listening there. And I've got all the backstage stories.
You do. That's what I love. I love the stories because you're on after I am here on Q1057. And so on my way home, I'm listening to you. And whenever I talk about your show, I'm like, he's got the weirdest, wildest stories of anybody on the planet. So, you got to listen.
I mean, last night, just seeing the Stones last night, I got there about an hour early. So I saw all the guys before they went on, Charlie and Ronnie
Keith and Mick and everybody. Mm-hmm.
And Keith Richards will not call me Alice.
He doesn't?
He calls me Vinny. He goes, Vinny. He said, how long has it been since you've had a drink? I said, like 37 years. And he goes, begs the question, why? He's the original Jack Sparrow. He really is.
Oh, there's no question. No question. Does anybody else call you Vince or Vinny, or does pretty much everybody?
My mom.
Your mom?
My mom. Yeah, my mom's the only one that calls me Vince.
So even your wife calls you Alice?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I always wondered. And Keith Richards can obviously get away with it because he's Keith Richards.
Yeah. I never could understand. Mick calls me Alice. Everybody calls me Alice except Keith.
He's just being contrary.
He insists on that I'm Vinny.
That's pretty funny. Hey, when are you going to do some more with the Hollywood Vampires, by the way, since you mentioned Captain Jack Sparrow?
Yeah, the album came out, the Rise album. Our second album came out with mostly original material on it and did really well.
Yeah.
It was number one in like 15 countries.
It was great.
Did really, really well. So what that tells us is that we should start writing another album.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny's making movies right now. Joe is out with Aerosmith doing residencies, and I'm on tour till December. So we probably won't be meeting up again till the beginning of the year. And then we'll start plotting out when the tour will be and what the next album will be. But we will go out and tour again with this the Rise album.
That's great. I loved it. I loved the album before when you did all the covers, and it was just kind of a unique take and kind of a different outlet for you.
It was so unique to, I told him, I said, what we should do is put a bar band together called the Hollywood Vampires and just play songs for all of our dead drunk friends. And it was really true. I mean, all the guys we used to drink with, and, they all, most of them died.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look, you got Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, Keith Moon, T-Rex. I said, we could do all these songs, not expecting it to end up being, playing in front of 200,000 people. I thought we were just going to be like a little bar band.
Sure.
And it ended up that we ended up touring and, doing a whole bunch of European shows that were like 10, 20, 30,000 people.
Wow. That's incredible. Isn't it funny when something that you're just kind of on a whim and it turns just huge?
Well, the band was so good. I mean, it had Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, We had Joe Perry, from Aerosmith, and Johnny's as good a guitar player as anybody. People always kind of question Johnny's guitar playing. And I tell them, I said, you know who he's out with right now? Playing in the band. I said, who? I said, Jeff Beck.
Mm-hmm. He's good. I was surprised.
If you're playing with Jeff Beck, the greatest guitar player of all time, something that does say something about your guitar playing.
I remember seeing the first video of the Hollywood Vampires, and I thought, okay, Johnny Depp, he's a movie star, whatever. It's a hook, it's a gimmick, it's whatever. And then I heard him, and I was like, damn, that dude can play.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played on McCartney albums. He's played with the Stones. The guy's the real deal.
That's awesome. That's cool. Hey, we've got Halloween coming up. What's Halloween like at the Cooper household?
The craziest thing about Halloween is that it's the worst night to have a concert.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
Everybody's out with their kids.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's very hard to do a Halloween concert.
Mm-hmm.
The last one that we did one in London, and in Camden Town, and we had Arthur Brown come up and do Fire.
Oh wow!
And it was great because the only place in England that celebrates Halloween is Camden Town, which is sort of the really hip, kind of area in London.
Right.
So basically that's a night off for us.
But usually you're not home.
We're usually someplace in Germany somewhere.
Yeah, you're not home handing out Snickers bars at that time.
No. I've got twin grandsons that are 4 years old and another one that's 1 year old. And I would love to be home trick-or-treating with them, but I'm usually not anywhere near home.
Oh, that's funny. I always thought that you would have some huge display on your yard or something and would be entertaining
People
the masses.
People are afraid to come to my house.
I believe
it. I don't know
it.
why. We never get anybody coming to our house.
I believe it. It
might be the giant rattlesnakes on the door handles. I'm not sure.
That could probably keep them away. Is there anything on stage that you've always wanted to do that you haven't been able to?
Well, there's always that idea of taking over a theater
mm-hmm.
and not just affecting sound and visual, but to affect every single sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really cool to affect every single sense, and yet that could be done if everybody, had to sit in their seat,
mm-hmm.
and you could put a little electric shocker in the seat, and you could have things coming down from the ceiling that feels like cobwebs or something. So, it would be like a total sensory theater, and that could happen.
I could see that. Especially with virtual reality the way it is now.
Oh, yeah.
Alice Cooper's virtual reality.
Yeah. In other words, you wouldn't just make a song come to life visually and through listening to it, but you could also affect all the other senses, smell, everything.
Wow. Well, you've always been inventive, so if anybody's going to do it, it'll be you, and it'll probably be 10 years from now, and you're still rocking it on stage.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if I was on tour 10 years from now.
I certainly hope so. And I can't wait to see you in Glens Falls there at the Cool Insuring Arena. You've always been one of my favorites, so it's a thrill to talk to you again, and can't wait to see you coming to town.
Well, thanks, and you're on right before me, so quit leaving those pizza boxes around.
I'll try to clean up before you take over the studio, Alice.
Yeah.
You have a great day, and have an awesome trip to Europe, and we'll see you in November.
Okay, thanks a lot, man.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.